Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Mortgage rates in the...
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy for our Friday, a low of 70, a high of 88 degrees. There's a slight chance for a spotty shower or thunder shower around midday in the afternoon, but then expect a dry evening. So looking good for the Cardinals game Friday evening, just warm and muggy. Saturday, hotter, high of 91. There's a chance for a shower or storm in the morning, and then a slight chance for one of those bubble-up storms in the heat of the afternoon Saturday. That's only a 20% chance. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, hot and humid. Sunday's the better chance for more widespread scattered storms and a high of 89. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Hey, this is Chris Arps. If you enjoy a good cigar like I do, check out Dorset Cigar at 11396 Dorset Road in Maryland Heights. They'll help you find the perfect smoke, and they have a fantastic premium selection. Mention promo code NewsTalkSTL for 7% off. Visit DorsetCigar.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hungry at midnight? Craving a home-cooked breakfast at noon? At Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant, we've got ya 24 hours a day. For 35 years, folks have been coming back for our famous fried chicken, bone-in catfish, country fried steak, slow-cooked pot roast, scratch-made pancakes, or a slice of homemade pie. Daily specials and a loyalty rewards program that actually pays off. There's always a reason to come back to Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. Skip the wait. Join our wait list on Yelp or at ginghamsrestaurant.com.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health. I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
On the next
Larry Connors, USA.
Today, story behind the story, my flight with the Blue Angels, and some of the public response I got.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead, or is it on hold?
The weaponization fund, as far as I'm concerned, was a beautiful thing. It was something I didn't make it, but I heard that. I thought that was the greatest thing because people like you have abused our people so badly. The fake news like CNN, like the New York Times and like others have abused our people. Wait a minute, be quiet. Have abused our people so badly, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You used to be a conservative. They were like, wait a minute, let me finish.
And that's Donald Trump tangling with Caitlin Collins of CNN over the weaponization fund. In other news, Chris Arps, the New York Times is getting in on the maybe we should jump off the Graham Plattner bandwagon. They're imploding that campaign. And CBS is just imploding with the departure of Scott Pelley, the latest drama there. So we're enjoying all of that, and we're happy we're back in studio here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL on a Thursday, Thunderdome Thursday show. We got lots to get to today, and we're all back together again.
Yes. Speaking of Scott Pelley, you're not going to lose your job when you tell your new boss that he's not qualified and he's destroying the program. That's probably not good for your job tenure, I would think.
Like a lot of people, Scott Pelley forgot that he's an employee of 60 Minutes and CBS, and he does not run the network.
And he was shown the door because of that.
And even CEOs can be shown the door, right, by the shareholders and the boards and such and so forth. Joey, are we ready for our first guest of the afternoon? We are. Well, we're going to talk to the Missouri media mogul.
Yes.
See what he thinks of all of that news and what's going on here in the heartland in the Show Me State. Busy, busy times indeed, as we are now officially 60 days away from a huge August 4th primary. Scott Faughn, publisher of the Missouri Times, host of This Week in Missouri Politics, which you can hear here on News Talk STL every Sunday morning as well, joins us now. And I'm going to see Scott later tonight at a Missouri legislative wrap-up event that we'll get to as well. Scott, how you doing today? Thanks for joining us once again.
I'm doing good. I tell you what, when some does really dumb things like this Iran war, you're like, oh, what's he doing? Then when he does stuff like that clip, you're that's why I like him. That's my man.
I could not agree with you more. Hey, Scott, first thing I want to kick off with is something I noticed you are doing once again this election season. The F-150 Missouri statewide tour. I saw I think it was one of your first clips on that this week, and you had Bill Eigel up in the big truck cab right ahead of the St. Charles County executive debate the other night. Give us tell us why and what the F-150 tour is, and what did you think of that pretty raucous and rowdy St. Charles County debate?
Loved it. Love a good debate. Love the back and forth. Every year during campaign season, and even really when it's not, I like to get outside Jeff City. You can sometimes get you get a good perception because, as you know, people from all over the state come to the state capitol. So you do get to meet people from all the urban, rural, all kinds of places. But there ain't nothing like getting in the truck and driving around the state and seeing for yourself and getting to visit folks in their districts, in their home. You get to see we have the most diverse state in the union. And so I love to actually go, it's one thing to go talk to somebody in Jeff City when they're kind of on their game. Another thing to talk to them back home when they're kind of relaxed. It's also another thing to go to the bar and have a nice cold frosty Bud Light with folks. Everybody kind of wants to talk politics. It's like karaoke. At first they might be a little hesitant, but the second time you ask them, they're all about talking about it. So I like to go out and just meet people where they are and kind of get a feel for folks all around the state. Because, Tim, as you know, you ran for leadership. You had to go to all those different living rooms all throughout the state. It is a big state, and it's very diverse.
Scott, I was right there with you on the F-150 tour until you said have a Bud Light. What's up with that, man? Come on.
Hey, if folks, if dudes that want to wear a dress, want to drink the same beer I do, pull up a bar stool. Actually, Chris, this whole controversy of Bud Light has been great for me. Sometimes bars would be out of Bud Light. Now no bar is ever out of Bud Light. Bud Light never went on sale. Now it goes on sale ever so often. This whole controversy has been nothing but a win for me.
I hear you. I want to ask you, you have your finger on the pulse of Missouri politics. We've got big amendments that are going to be on the ballot in August and November. I'd like for you to handicap each one, sir.
I think obviously the big one, the one we're going to talk about tonight in Des Peres, is the income tax cut. I think this is a huge deal. I tell you what, it is. Something's legitimately big and legitimately complicated when you've got when both sides can make an argument and you can be like, yeah, okay, I kind of see that. I see where both coming from. I understand there's critics, serious people that have a criticism about Governor Keogh's plan. I can't respect Governor Keogh enough, though, for stepping up and for addressing the biggest problem in our state. Let's be honest. The Republicans have ran this state for 25 years. We are stagnant. We do not have an amazing amount of growth to show for a generation of Republican leadership. And I love the fact that Mike Keogh is willing to step out, take the slings and arrows, be the leader, be the bull of the woods, be the big dog, and say, this is how I believe this state will grow. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I believe the plan is foolproof or for sure. I don't. But I will tell you this, Chris. I ain't heard one old boy that's created more jobs in this state than Mike Kehoe disagree with his plan. Have you?
I have not.
Yeah, Scott, I want to follow up you on that. You know, you and I often love to tangle and tussle about who's the real conservative and who's not in Jefferson City and in Missouri politics writ large. I got to tell you, though, I will sit right here and be happy to eat some crow on Mike Kehoe because he has happily surprised me with his aggressive platform that he laid out in his very first State of the State. And, Scott, he has stuck to it. It has been promises made, promises kept for the first 2 years. Last year was the law and order agenda, mission accomplished. This year was moving forward on the tax cut proposal. Next year, I'm hearing he might get down to another one of his favorite issues, which is school choice and education reform. I think it's refreshing that we have a governor with an agenda that works with the legislature and makes sure that, you know, not a million things get done, but a couple of very important things get done. What say you as to the first 2 years of Mike Kehoe?
I'm with you. I was on that bus with him in that primary. And look, he is not going to be the guy that gets on Facebook and whines and moans as much. He is going to be the guy that puts up win after win after win. Now, I think we're going to have to see a whole different skill set come in this fall and this summer. He has proven he can go to the legislature and pull wins. He has got folks that take tough votes on things they did not want to take to advance a conservative agenda. But it's one thing to get this stuff on the ballot. I believe we have an uphill fight to pass this income tax repeal or reduction or elimination. I think it's going to be very hard. And I think we're going to have to dig in deep, and we're going to need everybody rowing in the same direction. The same thing with the pro-life amendment in the fall. I do think there's some folks that 2 falls ago got a little bit of a sugar rush because they were wanting a no. Missourians want to vote no. We like to push no. I'm a believer, should the government? No. Don't do anything. You'll screw it up. But it's tough to make that case. We're going to see Mike Kehoe's skill set and see if he can turn those legislative victories into victories at the polls. I'm telling you, I think we have a very tough fight. I actually believe we are going to see school choice in this state. I firmly believe we're going to see school choice. I don't think we'll have Easter before we have school choice in this state next year. That is a legislative victory. When you have to go to the public, it takes on a whole new situation and dynamic. And so I'm excited to not only see Mike Kehoe start to do this, but to get in the trench and help and talk at events like tonight where I simply, even if you can't believe in the plan, I believe that Mike Kehoe knows how to create jobs in this state. And there's a whole lot of folks that have signed the back of a paycheck that Mike Kehoe signed the front of in the state to verify that.
Scott, we know that the realtors are going to be major foes of Amendment 5. They've made no secret of that. They have a PAC that they've put a substantial amount of money into. How much of a factor do you think their opposition is going to be to this?
A ton. When you're on a ballot measure, I think you have to work 4 times as hard on the yes as the no. I think if you just go back and look in this state, when there's been funded organized opposition, it has been very easy to get a no. When the no has some money and organization, they have a significant advantage. Our backs are against the wall. I thought it was a very interesting choice to put this on in August. I have to admit I might have done November just because I think we need more time. I think there's some folks that don't see the emergency yet of just a stagnant economy for a generation. Because it's one of those like the frog in the pot. It's not like Missouri loses 5% of its population every year. It's not like 50 people leave a day like Illinois. We're just stagnant. And that leads to some complacency, and folks think it could be worse. I think we really have to lean in and make sure folks understand there's a danger to a stagnant economy in this state. And is it really going to affect any of us? Well, we're probably going to be successful. We're probably going to continue to do well. But our children, what kind of state are we leaving them? Let's be honest. What kind of state did the last generation leave our generation that didn't grow this state? And so to me, I'd rather go down swinging than this milquetoast, whatever. I'll ask you this. I respect people that have the realtors. I respect Sam Licklider as much as anybody I know. The one thing I don't respect is if you just look at me and say, you know what, everything's going fine. Stagnation is fine for our kids, and it's fine for Missouri. I don't respect that. So if you don't like my Keogh's plan, fair enough. This is a complicated, big league deal. Let me hear what your problem is, and I don't start off disrespecting you or chiding you. However, what I don't respect is if you don't like my Keogh's plan and you don't have a plan of your own, and you're willing to accept this stagnant, I view as failing economy. If you're not willing, if you don't have a plan, well, let's get behind the governors.
Yeah, I've been saying the exact same thing. Nice to see people on offense on at least a proposal. Speaking with Scott Faughn, the MissouriTimes.com, the Scott's on Twitter X at Scott Faughn. Scott, tell us your thoughts on the other big kahuna that's on the August 4th ballot, something that's also been discussed for many, many, many years, finally made it through the legislative process. Initiative petition reform. There has been a lot of left-wing liberal billionaire money flowing into Missouri. I saw a stat the other day that over $50 million flowed in over the last 6 years, mainly to get that abortion initiative passed a couple years ago. What do you think about this effort? And tell us what you know about the pros and the cons.
You know, I have to be honest with you. I am passionately for initiative petition reform. I don't think this is a very good product. I think this was kind of done as a throw-in to get some other stuff done. I'm not as I really do believe that it should be harder to amend Missouri's Constitution. I don't think the legislature should be able to put things on the ballot easier than the public. I don't believe in that elitist legislative thing. I'm going to vote for this because I believe any system is better than one we have. I'm afraid, you know, we're maybe trying to do a lot. Also, Tim, I think it's a curious message we're sending when we say the initiative petition process is bad, but we want to use it 5 times in a cycle. I think those are kind of mixed messages. I'm going to vote for this. I'm going to support this. We're going to endorse this plan. However, I think it could be a lot better, and I'm afraid if this loses, it sets back the cause of a serious plan for IP reform, and I think this is only borderline serious plan. I think you could make a very good argument that it should be harder if the public puts a statute in place. The legislature shouldn't be able to touch it for 3 to 5 years. I think there are some legitimate things I think would make that it would be easier to make the case to the public on initiative petition reform. I feel like that one has a major uphill slog. I mean, also there's only so many hours in the day. I mean, how many things can you really get your buddies? And I mean, how you know, when the Cardinals are actually playing well, how many things this summer your buddies gonna let you talk politics with them about, right? Unless Donald Trump comes out for it. So I guess I am probably as passionate for initiative petition reform as I am eliminating the income tax. It's a close race. I think we have a much more serious possible plan with people stepping up to fund that plan in the income tax elimination than we do the IP reform. I just hope that, look, if this passes, great. I'll be very happy. If it doesn't pass, I hope it doesn't set back the cause, because I actually think this is one of those that needs its own election, and we need to really go out and educate people, because I think it has really damaged our state. I think to be honest with you, if I were a Democrat listening to this, number one, I'd say you just like to be angry. But if you were listening as a Democrat, I don't think they'd serve the Democratic Party very well either. Obviously, some of their ideas have support amongst the general public, but they're not able to go to the ballot and campaign on them because they get done in these initiative petitions. I don't think it's good for the state. I don't think it's good for public policy. I don't think it's good for either party, and it desperately needs to change. And if it can this August, I say great. My German skepticism tells me we may be having this discussion 2 summers from now again.
Scott, we've got a new nickname for you here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. We're going to start calling you Scott Randolph Hearst Faughn. You have become quite the media mogul. You've got magazines, you've got TV shows, you own newspapers. Tell us about these ventures, sir.
Well, unlike Randolph Hearst, I didn't grow up with money. I grew up in a trailer down on the Boot Hill, and you know, if you get in the media business too deep, I'll be living back in that trailer down on the Boot Hill. It's a fun time to be in media because it's changing. I could just tell you that everything you think about the establishment media, when you own it, you're right. It is exactly what you're thinking. There are some good folks and some talented folks. The resistance to change is amazing. That is probably the best thing I bring to the table is we are going to change a lot of the things we do. We have to change the public. I'm not even sure if you were a liberal Democrat, I don't think the media's extreme liberal Democrat bias, and it's almost now just an anti-Trump bias, because Trump does a lot of things we would have considered liberal, before Trump. It's just they hate Trump, and I think that bias permeates things so much, and it's very real and it's accurate. And if you think you see it, you probably are right. I can tell you, I can call you from it. The call's coming from inside the house here. There is a extreme anti-Trump bias, and there is a significant liberal bias. That Trump drives these people nuts, and it devalues the product, and it makes, if you're trying to do a fair job in media, the Caitlin Collins of the world make your life harder, because people just believe you just are so biased. They don't give you they don't give you time to build credibility. So I will tell you this, folks, from seeing under the hood, everything you're thinking is right, and changing it is very difficult.
I think those are wise words indeed. Scott, we'll see you in a couple of hours. We have we have a ton of these all across the state. There's a Missouri legislative wrap-up tonight at the Lodge at De Pere. Doors open at 6. The event begins at 6:30. We'll have a legislative panel, and then more of that wit and hillbilly wisdom from Scott Faughn right after that, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. Come out and see us. Want to thank Martin Bennett and Niles Stevens for putting that together for all of us tonight. We'll see you all there. Scott, we'll see you in just a little bit, too.
Thank you, sir.
We will have a good time. Thank you all.
Indeed. That's Scott Faughn, publisher, Missouri Times, host of This Week in Missouri Politics. You can hear that program every Sunday morning here at News Talk STL, at Scott Faughn on Twitter X. All right, there we go. Whew, we kicked off the show very quickly.
Hot and heavy.
Hot and heavy. And we're going to keep things rolling. We're going to get an international update from Steve Bucci on the House approving a War Powers resolution. Does that go anywhere, or is it just window dressing? More national defense headlines of the day. Pete Hegseth, Chris, I didn't know this was a possibility. Pete Hegseth removed 180 religions from the military's official list of recognized beliefs. I didn't know we had that many religions.
I did not know there were 180 religions, but if the War Secretary thinks that's necessary for good morale of the troops, then go good for him.
I'll bet you there's some weird ones in there.
I'm sure.
Indeed.
I'm sure.
We're going to talk to a guy who's not weird at all. We're going to talk to Steve Bucci next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy for our Friday, a low of 70, a high of 88 degrees. There's a slight chance for a spotty shower or thunder shower around midday in the afternoon, but then expect a dry evening. So looking good for the Cardinals game Friday evening, just warm and muggy. Saturday, hotter, high of 91. There's a chance for a shower or storm in the morning, and then a slight chance for one of those bubble-up storms in the heat of the afternoon Saturday. That's only a 20% chance. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, hot and humid. Sunday's the better chance for more widespread scattered storms and a high of 89. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The concurrent resolution is adopted.
There were cheers in the House of Representatives after 4 Republicans joined Democrats to pass a resolution to stop the war on Iran. It's preliminary and non-binding, but a strong rebuke of the war President Trump launched with Israel without congressional approval. A war that continues to escalate, even with a ceasefire in place. A new video overnight shows the moment an Iranian drone hit Kuwait's main airport yesterday, exploding at a terminal, killing one and injuring dozens.
428 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and President Trump has been saying that we are close to a possible resolution of this war, but if you see the actions that Iran has been taking over the last couple of weeks, it doesn't seem like they want to end this war at all. There are folks, Tim, in Congress that want to end this war. A war powers resolution was passed in Congress. 4 Republicans crossed over to make that measure pass. You know, one of the questions, we're not going to have Steve Bucci today, but one of the questions that I was going to ask him, I know he doesn't do politics because he's with the Heritage Foundation, but he is a former soldier who has served in war. And I just wonder, what do the troops overseas who are fighting for their country, they're putting their lives at risk, what do they think when politicians at home are basically voting to defund the war and kind of leave them hanging a little bit? I wonder what their thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's Vietnam-esque, right? And that's an era none of us want to live through again, because our troops were treated very badly by a lot of Americans. A lot of war heroes were not welcome back. I heard that was I was just born in 1971, but from everything I've read, seen, talked to my dad was in the military at that time. It was not a good time for American servicemen and women, and it was a bad time for America, right? I have mixed feelings about this war, like I think everybody does. And, I think we should stand behind our troops 1,000%. I think the other thing, though, is I think Americans, having just come out of the 20-year war on terror, the last thing we want to do is get embroiled and bogged down in another multi-decade conflict in the Middle East. I love the fact we've bombed Iran back in the Stone Ages. Chris, I'm really worried about what else can we do if there's not going to be a national uprising there, you know?
Yeah, I think it's getting to the point, and we talked with Steve Bucci about this last week, that the president has given them a lot of chances to make a deal. I've been expressing concerns that they are playing rope-a-dope, that they're just trying to drag this negotiations out. They're very good at that. We can't trust a word that they are saying. And I think they are trying to replay the 1979 playbook, where they literally destroyed Jimmy Carter's presidency by holding our hostages for 444 days. Look, I am not a warmonger. I never served in war, so a lot of people will look at me and say, well, it's not you over there. It's not your son, daughter, or granddaughter. But I think it's to the point now that the president has made threats to literally annihilate them. And I think at this stage, Tim, that's the only thing that's going to bring these people to the table. They're playing games. They've got the Strait of Hormuz closed down, saying that they have mines in the area. While we have a ceasefire going, they're firing rockets into Kuwait, into some of their Arab neighbors. And I think sometimes, there's a time for talking and there's a time for war. And I think it's time to put an end to this conflict, and the president needs to do what he needs to do and use the full force and strength of our military to end this and bring these terrorists to heel.
Yeah, one or the other. I think you really do. I think you really need to choose one or the other. It's a horrible Hobbesian choice. It's a catch-22, but you have to make that choice, I think, at this point, because, look, I think the president, who's had a lot of great success, right, that the media is not going to talk to you about, Donald Trump helped end 8 or 9 major conflicts around the globe. But he was dealing with people who are extremely different than the Iranian mullahs. The Iranian mullahs are a theocratic regime. Chris, they think that if they die, they get 9,000 Vestal virgins and all that stuff. Yeah. This is part of their religion. All the other conflicts that the president helped resolve or did resolve didn't have that aspect, right? Yeah. I stumbled across a famous movie that actually was based on a famous book based on the real-life story of Chris Kyle, American Sniper.
Yeah, that's all the movie.
And I forgot how old that movie was now and how old that story was back in, that was the early 2000s. And I made myself watch a big chunk of it last night. And, man, I know we're not in the streets of Tehran, and nobody's saying we're going to be. That was a horrible war we were engaged in. Our military men were just being picked off like sitting doves, going through those streets. That it was guerrilla warfare, and Chris Kyle was one of the heroes of that war. It's really a shame what happened to him back in 2013, where he was trying to take care. He and his buddy were trying to take care of a fellow serviceman who had PTSD. Ended up killing both of them at a gun range. It was absolutely horrific end to an incredible life. But his story overseas was amazing, and I think a lot of Americans do not want us to get mired back in that again. So I agree with you. We just got to look. Donald Trump has tried to negotiate now for what, 4 or 5 weeks, and they're just going to keep lying. They're just going to keep cheating. They're just going to keep stealing. They're just going to keep delaying. And then what if we don't have Donald Trump around and the next president doesn't want to use that force? Well, are we right back where we were eventually with a nuclearized Iran?
The president has been very decisive during his presidency in both terms. He has done things that a lot of presidents didn't have the cojones to do, and I applaud him for that. And I understand the hesitancy of bringing the full force of our military into that situation. You know, a lot of the military experts say that to really open up the Strait of Hormuz and to facilitate an overthrow of the regime there in Iran, that we're going to have to put troops on the ground, and that's something that no American wants. I know he is hesitant probably to take the final decisive military measures because, you know, right now oil price, a barrel of oil is $100 a barrel. If we do go full force, you know, oil could skyrocket to $150, $175 a barrel. The president has said, and I believe him, that he is not taking the midterms or economic concerns into this matter. He's looking to make sure that the American people are safe. The Wall Street Journal has a scoop this morning. They're saying that aides have told them, and the president has told some of his aides, that he is not willing to start a full-scale war in Iran unless the Iranians kill Americans, you know, with a drone strike or a missile strike, and I understand his hesitancy. You know, that's a huge decision to take other people's kids and grandchildren into war. I get that, but I hate that has leaked out, because I think that gives the Iranians even more resolve to not negotiate if that is the standard that the president is going to use in order to start full-scale military operations. But it's time. You know, I'm hearing conservatives, MAGA, Republicans are been saying, look, Mr. President, you've given these people more than enough time. It's time to take action and end this one way or the other.
You know, and we've heard that from Jim Talent and Steve Bucci for weeks now. And neither of those gentlemen I would consider a neocon warmonger. Steve Bucci, we don't talk about this probably enough, and we should give him a little more credit. But he's just such a humble guy. Steve Bucci was a decorated war hero. And I believe he was a colonel. He was in the Special Forces. He served in theater in the Middle East. He led operations back in 1998 and 2001 in dealing with one of the first Gulf Wars over there. Right after, you know, he was there in 98, and then he was back there in 2001 after 9/11. So, he was a colonel. So he walked the walk, talked the talk. Steve Bucci's not a warmonger. Jim Talent's not a warmonger either. But what they have both said, if you listen to their interviews on Monday and then Thursday, they both have said basically what you just reiterated, that their one criticism has been that Donald Trump ended what they call the kinetic activity, right? They always say the kinetic activity. That means the actual war effort a little too early. I know Donald Trump's hesitancies, as you just mentioned, but on the other hand, if you're dealing with a regime that believes that it is in a holy war jihad with Western civilization, the big and little Satan of Israel and the United States, I don't know where these negotiations end up going other than in circles.
Yeah. And a bit of irony, you know, this War Powers resolution was passed in the House yesterday. The House is preparing a vote today, Tim, on new sanctions on Russia and more aid to Ukraine, a discharge petition. That's what they're going to be voting on today. 6 Republicans voted with Democrats yesterday in order to take up this discharge petition. There will be a vote on that. So it's ironic in a sense that we're seeing the Democrats all gung-ho of wanting to give aid to Ukraine. They want to put more sanctions on Russia, but when it comes to our boys and girls, men and women who are in actual combat over in Iran, fighting against a despotic regime that calls us the Great Satan, and if they had a nuclear weapon would fire at us and our allies in a minute, that they are willing to kind of leave them in the lurch. But with the Ukraine situation, they're willing to go full bore. I find that very ironic.
It is. It's very ironic. It's very hypocritical. We love Ukraine, but we hate Israel. I don't get it. And or for all the anti-Semites out there, we love Ukraine, but we also love it. We also love Iran.
Yeah.
It's like that seems to be a very difficult stance to actually justify. It becomes very political. It shows how far our foreign policy chops have fallen. Used to be politics ends at the water's edge and we unite as Americans. We should recognize both Iran and Russia as a threat, right? And arguably, Iran is the bigger threat. Look, I know Russia is the bigger threat to Ukraine, right? Because they've been at war with them for 4.5 years. But Russia has also shown itself to be a paper tiger. It also is not saber rattling against the United States of America. Every once in a while, Putin has to be, bombastic. Iran literally says up to this very moment that if it had its choice, if it had the ability to, it would absolutely wipe Israel and the United States off the map. Does anyone not take them at their word? I do.
Yeah.
If they had a nuclear weapon, Chris, I think they'd use it.
In a heartbeat. Other big news today, Tim, acting AG Todd Blanche was nominated for the president to be the attorney general. Usually those types of situations, they're kind of a smooth sail through Congress, but there are some Republicans. They're calling them the YOLO Congress. You only live once caucus. These are people like Thomas Massey and Senator in Louisiana and Cornyn and Tom Tillis in North Carolina, who now that they aren't running for re-election, they are starting to speak out against the president. A couple of these senators, especially Tom Tillis, says that it will not be a slam dunk for Todd Blanche to be nominated. They cite concerns of the weaponization fund. AG Blanche was on the Hill last week, and Senate Republicans were not happy about that. They're also concerned that he used to be the president's personal attorney, and they're wondering if he can be an honest actor as the attorney general. A lot of them, Tom Tillis says he has concerns about the quote-unquote personal vendettas of the president against James Comey, indicting him. So it's not going to be a sail through for A.G. Blanche through the Judiciary Committee. Some are saying he may not even get through the Judiciary Committee vote. And I hate to see this because, with this close to the midterm elections, Republicans need to show unity, and I hate now seeing congressional members that are openly going against the president at a time when it's going to be a tough election for Republicans. We need unity.
Yeah, come election time, the biggest difference between the two parties seems to be that Democrats always circle the wagons and Republicans always set up the circular firing squad, and we're seeing it once again. I think you hit the nail on the head. The reason they don't like Blanche because he was the president's lawyer. If you look at Todd Blanche objectively, I don't know him, but from everything I've seen, he seems like a serious attorney.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like a really good practitioner of the law. Like not a big political figure. Yes, he was Donald Trump's lawyer, but I've only heard I haven't heard a lot of bombastic political statements out of Blanche. He's a litigator. He's a practitioner. I think he knows the law, and maybe that's why some people don't like him either. I don't know.
And finally, Tim, it's day 3 since the California elections. We have a winner?
We have a winner?
No. We still have no idea, but
no breaking news.
But not surprisingly, but Steve Hilton received 1.4 million votes for governor. He is leading the field.
Wow.
As of last night. Xavier Becerra, he was the former HHS director for Joe Biden. He is in second with Tom Steyer. He is a distant third. He's 300,000 votes behind Becerra, and he is not conceding yet. So we could see for that California governorship, Xavier Becerra, and Steve Hilton. Well, it'd be nice to see another Republican governor in California. I didn't think I'd ever even see that in my lifetime again, to be honest with you.
How exciting that he made it to it looks like he's
leading.
It looks like he's going to make it to the runoff, Chris, unless they go out and harvest too many fraudulent ballots. But doesn't this all show how broken California is? We are in the third day since the Tuesday election. They don't know exactly what the results are yet. Tom Steyer, though, on the other hand, proving the point that you can't buy every election. Not everyone. You can buy a lot of them. But Tom Steyer, just not an exciting guy, a multi-billionaire, didn't buy this election, and he may not make the runoff. And, Chris, you just proved the point that there's at least 1.4 million normal people in California.
Now, I hate to be a wet blanket on this because it is looking good for Hilton. But reports are also saying, Tim, that the Democrats are receiving a larger share of late arriving mail ballots. Does that surprise you?
What a shocker. I bet you they're backing up the white paneled trucks as we speak.
Them printing machines are in overtime right now, printing up those ballots.
The more you remove it, what do I always say? The more you remove elections from Election Day, the greater you can increase the chance for fraud. We're witnessing it right now in real time.
Hear that every afternoon at the beginning of the show. My partner there, Tim Jones, talks about that issue. All right. Data centers. Tim and I took a vacation, or not a vacation, but a field trip last Friday to Kansas City to visit a data center. I have some thoughts on that I'm going to tell you about next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy for our Friday, a low of 70, a high of 88 degrees. There's a slight chance for a spotty shower or thunder shower around midday in the afternoon, but then expect a dry evening. So looking good for the Cardinals game Friday evening, just warm and muggy. Saturday, hotter, high of 91. There's a chance for a shower or storm in the morning, and then a slight chance for one of those bubble-up storms in the heat of the afternoon Saturday. It's only a 20% chance. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, hot and humid. Sunday's the better chance for more widespread scattered storms and a high of 89. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime.
News Talk STL right on my phone.
Anywhere.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Sweet, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Dr. Michael Lewis, West Point grad, physician, and retired Army colonel, is considered the world's leading expert on the use of omega-3s in brain health. He's also the author of When Brains Collide. Dr. Lewis, a lot of people take fish oil supplements, but how do you know they're working if you're not testing?
Elizabeth, I've come across the biggest breakthrough in my 30-plus years of medicine. What if you could test yourself at home to see if your fish oil supplements are actually working? And then have the right product, a combination of fish oil and olive oil, a perfect Mediterranean diet in a bottle delivered right to your doorstep. This is the answer to the American ultra-processed food diet. Email me at test@brainhealtheducation.org. That's test@brainhealtheducation.org.
Email Dr. Lewis today at test@brainhealtheducation.org and take the first step toward a healthier brain. Your future self will thank you. That's test@brainhealtheducation.org.
Chris's Corner, brought to you by the Dental Link on Manchester and Baldwin or at dentallink.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
voters made their voices heard loud and clear in Monterey Park by overwhelmingly approving a ban on data centers. The San Gabriel Valley community of about 60,000 people now becoming the first city in the nation to vote on and approve banning them permanently.
They shouldn't be here. Absolutely not.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Yes, Monterey Park, California has voted to permanently ban the construction of data centers within its city limits. Polls show opposition to data centers is growing nationwide, with many Americans worried about their impact on communities. I understand the concern, but I also think many Americans don't fully understand what a data center actually is. Recently, I toured a major data center in Kansas City with my co-host Tim Jones and a group of community leaders. What I saw wasn't some futuristic AI factory threatening humanity. What I saw was critical infrastructure. Think about your day. You check your email, you use Google, you watch YouTube, you stream Netflix, you store photos in the cloud, you use online banking, you order from Amazon. You use Facebook, Instagram, X, ChatGPT, and hundreds of other digital services. Every single one of those activities depends on data centers. The reality is that data doesn't float around in the clouds. It lives in physical buildings filled with servers that store, process, and transmit the information we use every day. Many of the concerns surrounding data centers are legitimate topics for discussion. They use electricity. They require water for cooling. Communities should absolutely have a voice in where they're located. But some of the opposition has become wildly overblown. I've heard people talk as if data centers are giant smokestack factories polluting neighborhoods. They're not. I've heard claims that they create unbearable noise. Modern facilities are heavily engineered to reduce noise and operate with minimal disruption. I've heard people suggest they provide no economic benefit. That's simply false. Data centers generate millions of dollars in local tax revenue, improve infrastructure, support construction jobs, create permanent technical positions, and often help fund schools, roads, emergency services, and other local priorities. The bigger issue is this. America is in a global race. Artificial intelligence, cloud computing, cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, medical research, financial services, and national defense all depend on computing power. Computing power depends on data centers. If America decides we don't want them, China will gladly build them. If we refuse to build the infrastructure required for the next generation of technology, we don't stop technological progress. We'll simply surrender leadership to our competitors. What's ironic is that many people opposing data centers are using smartphones, social media platforms, streaming services, cloud storage, and AI applications every single day. You can't demand more digital services while simultaneously opposing the infrastructure that makes those services possible. It's like wanting electricity but opposing power plants, or wanting highways but opposing roads. The truth, the data centers are becoming as essential to the 21st century economy as railroads were to the 19th century and highways were to the 20th. Can they be built responsibly? Absolutely. Should communities have input? Of course. But blanket bans are not the answer, because whether we realize it or not, data centers are not some luxury. They are the backbone of the digital world we already live in. And if America wants to remain the world's leader in technology, innovation, and economic growth, we need to start viewing data centers for what they are. Not a threat, but a necessity. That is Chris's Corner. You know, Tim, when we went and visited the data centers, we got kind of a, I don't know, call a slap in the face, a bit of reality. One of the people there at the data centers asked us to go to our phones, go to the part that shows all of the applications that you have downloaded. I had 67 apps downloaded on my phone. Another person that was with us had over 300. How many did you have?
I had probably 75 or so.
That takes,
I travel a lot.
Yeah.
It's all my apps, you know?
That takes a lot of data in order to hold all of that information.
Lori from Jefferson County, over 320 apps, she
337
said. She kind of laughed about it, yeah.
You know, the one other thing that I learned, you know, a lot of people talk about, well, these places only create a handful of jobs. We learned that is not the
also
truth,
not
that
true.
There's going to be thousands of jobs that are going to be created in this single plant that we visited. I asked one of the electricians and one of the engineers and one of the IT people there how much
are the jobs here at this center. They were telling me $30 to $60 an hour is what they were paying. And probably the third thing that I learned, I was always under the assumption that it was AI that was making the growth of these data centers possible. It's not AI. They were telling us it's a small part of the storage that the data centers use. It is all of the apps and services that we use every single day takes up a tremendous amount of space, and that's why you're seeing these data centers grow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I had similar reactions. In fact, when we pulled into the data center campus, I literally said, is this it? Because to me, it looked like we had just pulled into an industrial campus where they had just built 3 large Costco stores, right? They look like giant Costco buildings. They look very similar. They were clean, they were sleek, they were new. Maybe this is an anomaly of a data center location, or maybe, Chris, this is where they need to build them. This was an old industrial park within the city limits of Kansas City, on the north side of the city of Kansas City. And it was an industrial park that they had to remediate. It was filled with crap, right? And they had to clean it up, so they made it nice. Then one of the most hilarious things they said was, so the water thing, right?
Yeah.
They were like, well, we actually had to clean the city of Kansas City water and take it to a higher level before we could use it. And then we put it into our closed loop system. And Chris, weren't you amazed? They showed us everything they could, short of us having to sign an NDO, right? So we got to see a lot. They couldn't take us into an actively going data set, because otherwise we'd be violating your privacy, our listeners. We'd be violating everyone's privacy. That's what's in these data centers, your stuff. And the last thing was they weren't nearly as loud.
That's what I wanted you to address, because you went across the street, you and a group.
Yeah.
And
they took us to the operational. So there was 3 buildings, three or four large buildings. There was one that was done. It was complete. The cooling towers were up. They were running. It's not a hum. Everyone says it's a hum. I guess that sounds nefarious. Hum. It was like a fan noise, like you would buy on your phone for an app, the Better Sleep app.
Exactly.
It sounded like a fan noise, like an ambient noise, like you would use to go to sleep at night. And yes, I walked with about a few other people. Said, "Hey, let's walk 500 feet away." So we did. They said, "This is 500 feet." We could hear the traffic and the birds louder than the cooling fans. So, look, I'm not saying that everyone should just lay down their arms and say, "Yeah, put data centers everywhere. Put them in the minimalized subdivision." But to your point, where has all this opposition come from? And we criticize the other thing they let us do, Chris. Remember, they let us ask any question we wanted to, and we peppered everyone with questions.
We did. We had 30, 45 minutes.
Barred.
We had 30, 45 minutes of questions easily.
I feel the industry, whether it's the people who build these things, whether it's the people that run these things, whether it's the people that manage these things, my criticism of them is they got way behind the 8 ball on this. Now there's a lot of stories coming out about this that probably should have been maybe investigated on the front end. Do a quick internet search on your data center machine and Google China opposition data center. 1 million stories are going to come up, including this one from today from the New York Post. China undermining U.S. by fueling anti-AI data center protests.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why data centers have gotten behind the 8 ball is because we heard too many stories, and I'm adamantly against this, of some people owning the land that were on the county council, and we just saw a lot of sweetheart deals, insider deals, where people were going to be making a lot of money and didn't disclose it to the public. I think that is what started the bad publicity for data centers. I am not for that. It should be full disclosure on these data centers. And one last point is the infrastructure. You remember the second plant that we went to? They talked about all of the transformers and stuff that KC Power and Light had built just for them. They built it just for them, but Google paid for that.
They paid for it.
They paid for it themselves. It's come from taxpayers. KC Power and Light didn't have to pay for it. They paid for all of that infrastructure themselves.
I feel that this should be treated no better, no worse, should be treated the exact same as any other manufacturing or industrial development, right? They should get no sweetheart deals, no tax abatements. I want them to pay millions of dollars in property taxes and lower everyone's property taxes, which that will, but they shouldn't be treated better. they shouldn't be treated worse.
And we're going to have the Speaker's Thumb Speech.
We're going to talk about the media misses of the week. We got 3 more.
And we're going to have an old friend on the show we haven't had on in a while, Andrew Crapuchettes. He's CEO of Red Balloon and a military hire president. So I guess he's got a new business as well. What an entrepreneur. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. I love Capriotti's, and you will too. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester, McKnight, and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff. Looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores RestaurantandGrill.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This year, America turns 250, and Newstalk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. Newstalk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. D. Gregorio's Italian Market, AAA Motor Speedway, and American Family Insurance. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 1019 and 94.1 Newstalk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Ken Lorman in Washington. Senate Republicans have voted to defeat an amendment sponsored by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to prohibit the Justice Department from establishing a nearly $1.8 billion fund for victims of political lawfare. It's a proposal that Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche told lawmakers this week the administration would abandon. Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno says Democrats are trying to distract from the actual issue at hand.
They are going to play so many games over the next 8, 9, 10 hours. Bring it on. Because what we will do today is we will make certain that communities are safe in this country.
Staying on Capitol Hill, President Trump not impressed that the House passed a resolution designed to force him to end the Iran war. He calls the move meaningless. Former CBS newsman Dan Rather and 130 other CBS alumni are expressing their displeasure with the network after longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley is fired because of an outburst at a staff meeting.
Dan Rather, who was let go from CBS News after a problematic 60 Minutes piece about former President George W. Bush, is now inserting himself into the current situation. Rather, along with other CBS alumni, writing an open letter to the network, calling on David Ellison, the CEO of Paramount Skydance, to uphold the independence of 60 Minutes. New management has been brought in to deal with ongoing bias on the show and to make it more fair and balanced, for example, to include sound bites from President Trump.
That's correspondent Laura Winters reporting. On Wall Street, a big day for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, soaring over 900 points to close at a new record today. More of these stories, townhall.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the four walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone, get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy for our Friday, a low of 70, a high of 88 degrees. There's a slight chance for a spotty shower or thunder shower around midday into the afternoon, but then expect a dry evening. So looking good for the Cardinals game Friday evening, just warm and muggy. Saturday, hotter, high of 91. There's a chance for a shower or storm in the morning, and then a slight chance for one of those bubble-up storms in the heat of the afternoon Saturday. It's only a 20% chance. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, hot and humid. Sunday's the better chance for more widespread scattered storms and a high of 89. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson. Mario's Donut Restaurant, that's your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches, omelets, delicious gyros, and Mexican dishes, to their revamped menu with cannolis, tiramisu, baklava, and danishes. And don't forget those famous donuts. Dine in or carry out, Mario's friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit, or just visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The president doubles down on a falsehood. It has been a busy day for presidential statements divorced from reality. Well, the president's real troubles, again today, were not with the media, but with the facts. This comes after a rough start to his presidency, a weekend of tweeting tantrums and falsehoods from the president and his spokesman. And today, the president made a claim about the size of his electoral victory, a claim that wasn't remotely true.
Well, I'll do my best Scott Pelley and sound very serious, Chris, and I'll chew on the end of my glasses so you know that I'm making a very important point right now.
You know, Tim, the amazing thing about that's not a evening opinion show. That is the opening of CBS Evening News.
Yes.
With him just giving a blatantly biased, opinionated opening there. That's astounding.
And, you know, I guess if we were to fight fire with fire, we would do the same thing. But we're so much more fair and balanced. I mean, We are common sense conservatives. This entire station has a center-right bias, but we admit it. But I don't think we're as blatant or as bad because we often will say, hey, Republicans should do this, but that or the other better, while we bash lunatic Democrats. But we kind of call people out on all sides of the spectrum, but they're the comms department for the DNC these days.
Basically. I mean, I wouldn't mind that statement if, they say, hey, we lean to the right, we support the Democrats, but they try to come off as this unbiased, middle-of-the-road, straight news source. That's the thing that makes that laughable.
Indeed. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, Thursday edition. Whew, it's been a busy show because we came fresh out of the gate with Scott Faughn of the Missouri Times, followed up with a great discussion we had regarding international affairs. Steve Bucci apologized to us. He said, Chris, he hit us on Twitter. He said, sorry, guys, I forgot to tell the correct producer. So I guess there's another Joey V out there. I don't know.
Well, Bucci must do 10 or 15 shows a week, I guess.
He's
Can't keep him straight.
Busy man. There's only one Joey V.
Yeah. He literally sounded like he was about to jump out of an airplane. I was amazed he picked up the phone at all. I was like, all right, land safely, Steve. See ya.
No problem, Colonel.
Don't break a leg.
Yeah, we love you, Colonel, and he'll be back with us as soon as he is able. We all talked about data centers in the third segment, Chris's Corner. If you missed that, we podcast everything. The St. Charles County Executive Debate is up and available as a podcast. It was really fascinating. I had many people. We really are becoming the station of note. It's not just a slogan. I think it is absolute reality that we are the number one station in the region for live and local conservative talk. The fact that we pulled off what many people said was a presidential level, presidential level county executive debate the other night, Chris. I had a lot of people say I listened on the app or I was there live. And I think it's fantastic that we can bring these things to the folks.
What other station has Jamie Ullman, Vic Porcelli, and Larry Connors all on the same station?
Indeed. No one else in the region. We are the station of note in eastern Missouri. And because of the app, which you should have downloaded by now if you haven't, please do so and share with your friends. You can literally listen to us around the world. Chris and I listened to the station when we were in Israel in the Middle East last year. We have many other people. Someone called Vic's show from, where were they, like Australia or New Zealand or something? It's really absolutely amazing. Do you remember, Joey? Somebody called from the other side of the planet the other day on the Vic
They're always doing
show.
Funny accents on that show. Who's to be trusted?
It's all AI.
Yeah.
Chris, based on our earlier discussion there in this segment, so as bad as the legacy media is, that things are bad for you as a Democrat when the New York Times is starting to jump off your bandwagon.
When you lose them and you're a Democrat, it's over.
Listen to what they just released this afternoon. So for some people, this may be breaking news. I'm talking about Graham Plattner, the new golden boy for the Democrats, Nazi tattoo and all, up in Maine. The New York Times just released this additional bombshell, as if he wasn't already taking on enough water. 3 women, not one, not 2, 3 women who dated Graham Plattner, maybe while he was married. I don't know. I don't know what the allegations are. The Democratic candidate for Senate in Maine told the New York Times that they found his actions intimidating and disturbing, describing volatile relationships. If the New York Times is even willing to go there, Chris, you know that the real story is probably 10 times worse.
And Graham Plattner was on Capitol Hill this week talking to Senate Democrats, reassuring them that no more revelations were going to come out. This is it. The Wall Street Journal story was a hit job. And then, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, this comes out. Look, the Democrats want back in power. And if they have to throw Graham Plattner under the bus to get back in power, they're going to do it in a heartbeat. Unfortunately for them, it's too late to put anyone else on the ballot up there in Maine. He is their guy. So they're going to try to rally around him, but it gets worse and worse for him, it seems.
It'll be rough. And you know what? We were a little rough on Republicans earlier. I'm going to give them some kudos on this. They're being nice and quiet on this.
Yeah.
And I love how they're just like, why don't you go ask the Democrats? And so all these Democratic senators and congressmen are having to be interviewed about this, and they're all being asked, so do you still support Graham Plattner, Nazi tattoo and woman abuser and all the other allegations that are out there? And they're like, a lot of them do not want to talk about it. Some of them are standing by their man. Others, like John Fetterman and some others, not just Fetterman, others have said, no, this is not the guy that we should be endorsing. So, man, he's taken on a ton of water. I don't know what can be done about it. The voters of Maine are going to have to figure this one out.
Yeah, they had on the ballot running against him was the governor of Maine. Unfortunately, she's 80 years old, and they want the younger progressive. So this is you go with the person that brought you to the dance, and it looks like they're going to sink or rise with Graham Plattner.
Republicans have plenty of problems this year. It's a midterm election. They're the party in power. Historically not good for them. Democrats are helping Republicans out almost every time you turn around. They've got that weirdo Tallarico in Texas, and then they've got goofy Graham Plattner up in Maine. This is going to be another wild election year where a lot of the traditional prognostications may not turn out coming true.
Yeah, few of the seats that the Democrats need in order to retake the Senate. They were looking at the Maine race. They're looking at the Iowa race. They have their eye on Texas, which I don't think that's in the realm of possibility. But this was when they were thinking that they could pull this off. Susan Collins, I don't know how she does it, Tim. She's been in Congress probably about 24 years, and every election cycle that she's up, she's the most vulnerable. People are wondering if she's going to be able to pull it out, and somehow she does. I think Susan Collins is sleeping a lot easier now with her opponent being Graham Plattner.
I agree. She's the Iron Lady of the Northeast, and look, whatever you think about her, I know she can be annoying at times. I have a very good conservative friend who lives in Maine, and I said, man, what do you guys do with Susan Collins? He goes, Tim, look, our electorate is not the Missouri electorate. Yeah. And you know what? As much as I disagree with Susan Collins on certain things and wish she was strong on others, she's probably the best we're going to get, so we're pretty happy that we have a Republican in that seat. I think that's a wise statement indeed.
Yeah, I got a good friend up there, Billy Bob Falkingham, who is in the Maine House.
Yes.
And I always wonder, how does a guy from Maine get the name Billy Bob?
Maybe he was born in Tennessee.
And he's a lobster fisherman.
Gotta love that indeed. All right, we played the Media Research Center there with poor Scott Pelley on the way in. I've got more.
You do a good impression of him, too.
I've listened to him way too much. I've got more not Scott Pelley. I've got more Media Research Center now with their worst media misses of the week. I got 3 awesome quotes. You be the judge of which one missed the mark the worstest, and that is the subject of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
All right, we've got the nominees. The nominees this week are Ali Velshi, who is from MS Now. We've got Paul Krugman. I've been wondering where Paul Krugman's been. He's been under a rock somewhere. I wish he would have stayed there. This is the guy, Paul Krugman, thinks he's an economist. He has been not just wrong, but epically wrong with his prediction. He's like a meteorologist. He's like the meteorologist of the. No offense to meteorologists, but come on, guys.
Can you believe he actually has a Nobel Prize in economics?
Yeah, right. So yeah, I know it's ridiculous. He is the meteorologist of the economics world because he's wrong with every single prediction. And Chris is right. He's won a prize for being wrong. And then, hey, the Right Reverend Al Sharpton popped up this week as well. So we've got 2 MS Now finalists and one from the New York Times. Couldn't get a better murderer's row there, right? Ali Velshi said this. This was in line. This was very. They must be giving them talking points about how much people hate America, how much they should hate America at MS Now. Last week it was Katie Tour, right? Oh, I get so nervous when I hear people say that there's like inalienable rights and that God is above the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, you nut. Of course it is. It says it right there in the text. Well, similarly, Ali Velshi feels deep unease about celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. And it gets worse. In 1 month, America will mark the 250th anniversary of its founding, Ali recently said. Like previous anniversaries, there is deep unease about this. So wait a minute. He's felt this way several times before? I don't know. So it's maybe not just Trump. I feel a deep unease about these celebrations to which I'm invited to mark the 250th anniversary of our so-called democracy. Because this 250th anniversary is taking place during yet another period of deep and fundamental existential unrest in the country. Yeah, brought on by you left-wing lunatics, mainly in our urban areas. By the country's unresolved racial politics. That's what this is. Women and black Americans have seen their rights taken away. I don't know what referring to there.
Yeah, I got mine.
Chris has his. Chris is on the radio here today talking on FCC airwaves. The voting, Matt, the Voting Rights Act has effectively been gutted. Okay, so Democrats can no longer gerrymander everywhere in the country. They only get to do it in the big blue states, so that's what good old Velshi is upset about there. Paul Krugman, what does Paul say these days? He says, we need to defang Trump, like pull his teeth out, as much as possible and make sure that neither he nor anybody who follows in his footsteps has power after the next 2 elections. Wow. Okay, so I guess you're advocating for some kind of dictatorship, huh? But beyond that, we really need to do a thorough purge. We need a de-magification. And that is, I'm not going to go over the top by using a word that is very similar to the denazification that we pursue. Oh, there's the Nazi word that we pursued successfully after World War II in Germany. Look, if it was up to today's leftists, Europe would be speaking German because they would decide that pursuant to today's leftists, we're back to the whole anti-Semitism thing, and the Jews wouldn't be worth saving in Europe. So we would just let the Nazis, I guess, have their way in today's world, according to the anti-Israel, anti-Jewish sentiment that we see definitely in some quarters of the right, but it's entirely taken over most of the left. And finally, the Right Reverend Al Sharpton says regarding Trump's UFC fights on the White House lawn, let's celebrate how we grew and the people that paid the price for it and that are continuing to pay the price now, because when we're dealing with this redistricting, Trump and others are trying to bring us back to an America that we struggle to get out of. So there is a connection of why they're having these fights on the White House lawn. The UFO and all. Oh, he says, I mean the whatever they call it, the UFC, because they're trying to go back to that. When, they watch people have these fights for the slave masters. Oh
my God.
And they'd be entertained by that. They're literally going back to that. You'll have to decide which one's worse than the other. Al Sharpton, Paul Krugman, or Ali Velshi, all pretty much bashing the great United States of America. And that's the stump speech for today. Chris, I think UFC fighters who get paid millions of dollars would very much disagree with Al Sharpton that they are slaves for slave masters.
And I got to tell you, I don't watch a lot of UFC fights, but when I do watch them, the overwhelming number of those members, they're white. I don't see a lot of black UFC fighters.
Don't either.
What are you talking about?
And some Hispanics, maybe?
Yeah.
Like a couple of handful of Hispanics. But you're right, there's a lot of like really rough and tumble looking white dudes.
Yeah.
That otherwise might be, I don't know, I'll say this because I'm a white guy, trailer trash, I can trash the whites, right? Because I'm white? Yeah. I don't know these days. Can I be offensive about anyone? I'm not sure. So
we may have UFC member fans in the audience, though.
Yeah. Look, I love the UFC. I think it's great. I'm not a huge fan, but I think but you know what? If a couple guys want to get paid to beat the crap out of each other in an octagon and people are willing to spend a lot of money to watch it, have at it. It's kind of like the glory days of Rome.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm not a fan of it because I just don't see the sport nature of it. It's just two guys in a ring beating the hell out of each other. You can kick, you can box, you can wrestle, you can strangle them if need be and make them submit. It's just, I don't really see a lot of, sports involved in it.
But, and Al Sharpton, once again, missing the point. These fighters, and there's women too. There's women UFC fighters.
Yeah.
Ooh, I wouldn't get in the ring with them either. There's men and women. They volunteer to do this. Nobody's making them do this. And the folks who reach the pinnacle of their profession, they get paid a lot of money to do that. Yes.
Joe Rogan has made a lot of money from the UFC.
Perfect example right there. So Ali Velshi gets, is that a guy or a gal?
That's a guy.
That's a guy, right?
Yeah.
He
used to have a show on MS Now, MSNBC.
Right. Chris, he gets nervous when we celebrate America because the only thing he can think of is slavery, which ended 50 some odd years ago. That's what his mind when he talks about celebrating America, he can't think of anything good to celebrate about America.
And I'm not surprised by that. Al Sharpton, these guys, the only thing that they have is to always harken back to discrimination and slavery. Like that's the only history America has. Instead of, we shouldn't forget our history. We should remember it, but we should remember how far we've come. Tim, we have had 2 African Americans on the Supreme Court, a black female on the Supreme Court. We've had a black president of the United States. We have black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Let's focus a little more on that than 200-year-old history.
Yeah, the Supreme Court right now, if you look at a picture of the 9 of them, there's more diversity now than I think ever before in our history. And it's like the grievance industry can never, ever celebrate success.
Because
when
it pays too well.
You're right. The Benjamins stop coming in, right? We have to shut off the printing press.
Discrimination ends. What is Al Sharpton and the Alphabet Soup civil rights groups going to do? They've made it an industry, literally.
And finally, Paul Krugman says that you and I need to be purged from the country after Donald Trump's gone. How about them apples?
Not surprised at all. I had a story in the stack where a candidate for Congress in Georgia was saying that all Trump supporters should be banned from the internet and social media. And said that with a straight face.
Well, we won't be able to use data centers anymore then.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Good segue.
All right, we're going to head to Andrew Crapuchettes. Remember Andrew? We had him on many, many times in the early days of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show and of News Talk STL. And he must have gotten really busy because we kind of lost touch with him, but he's back today. Andrew, if you remember, is the CEO of a center-right jobs bulletin board agency, Red Balloon, and he's now launched an aspect for the military, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So he's running Red Balloon and Military Hire. What are they up to these days, and how can they help the service members and the veterans in your life? Well, tune in next. He's going to join us on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy for our Friday, a low of 70, a high of 88 degrees. There's a slight chance for a spotty shower or thunder shower around midday in the afternoon, but then expect a dry evening. So looking good for the Cardinals game Friday evening, just warm and muggy. Saturday, hotter, high of 91. There's a chance for a shower or storm in the morning, and then a slight chance for one of those bubble-up storms in the heat of the afternoon Saturday. It's only a 20% chance. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, hot and humid. Sunday's the better chance for more widespread scattered storms and a high of 89. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs, attorney at law, has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs, attorney at law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
John Bolton plans to plead guilty to one count of retaining classified national security information. We've also been told that he plans to pay $2.25 million as part of this plea, and we're expecting all of this to take place at a hearing on June 26th. But for a little context here, originally he was indicted on 18 counts of both retaining and transmitting classified national security information. So he is now agreeing to plead to one of those retention counts.
Well, that was the other big bombshell news story of the day, and that will probably be the end of the John Bolton saga, don't you think?
I guess $2.5 million is better than spending a little time in a Gray Bar Hotel.
Indeed it is. Let's speak to our next guest, who we haven't spoken with in quite a while, and we missed him dearly. Andrew Crapuchettes, the most fun name to say in radio, CEO of Red Balloon and the new military hire. We're going to talk to him about everything Red Balloon and military hire are up to these days and more. Andrew, welcome back to News Talk STL.
Man, it feels so good to talk to you guys. I feel like long-lost friends. Finally getting to talk to my buddies again. So nice to talk to you.
Indeed. Andrew, tell us, what has Red Balloon been up to over the last few years? I would imagine you guys just continue to grow and go gangbusters. So what are you up to these days?
Holy moly, so many things. We have, continued to grow. We're now doing full recruiting services, and we have hiring automation software. And then 10 months ago, we've grown so much. We have so many businesses we're able to bless that we acquired militaryhire.com. It's actually a 20-year-old business that kind of had some older technology, but really had a great mission focused on how do you help veterans transition out of the armed services into the private sector. And we were able to bring them in. We have fixed their technology. We have kind of revamped some of their processes, rebuilt the sales team, and we're going after it. And it's kind of cool because now we have some really interesting customers like Border Patrol and the U.S. Department of State. So we are now able to kind of come alongside and bring some of the Red Balloon mindset and candidates to some of these really important positions within the Trump administration, which we're pretty excited about.
Andrew, since the advent of AI, a lot of folks are worried about job losses, especially with white-collar jobs. But I read a report the other day that said that that is not happening, that employers are still hiring for these white-collar jobs. Are you seeing that with Red Balloons and military hire?
Absolutely. So we're going to see disruption that is going to happen in the labor market. We've already seen that, where effectively a lot of jobs that, if you're let me put it this way. If you're an employee and you're not creative, you just show up and just kind of want to be told exactly what to do and do the job, then you really should be worried about AI taking your job, because AI is good at that kind of rote, mindless, non-creative work. So that is going to disrupt jobs. But if you are focused on creativity and building value for your employer, there will always be work for you. I believe, because we're made in the image of God and we were made to work. And so there will always be work for you to do. And then what's going to happen is this disruption is going to cause some job loss, but it's also going to move people around. There's still going to be hiring, but then it's going to produce an AI productivity boom. Because we know that when you produce more economic activity, then there is needs for more employees. And so we're already talking to employers who maybe didn't hire for a little bit because they were kind of filling open positions with AI technology, but they have continued to succeed. And now they're like, actually, we are hiring like mad at this point. So that's one factor. The second factor is AI right now is effectively underpriced. So if you look at many of the major models out there, they are losing money hand over fist. Well, at some point, that is going to have to stop. And all of a sudden, companies are going to realize, hey, it's actually not going to save me that much money to use a large language model rather than a great American employee. And so all of these things are going to cause disruption in the short term, but a lot of open and new and exciting jobs in long term.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm so glad we have you on today because you just referenced something that I was seeing this week. There was a brand new report that came out, and I've been wanting to ask somebody about it, and you're the perfect guy to ask, that AI will be transformational, and I think that's what freaks people out. It freaks me out. I'm not a big change guy. I like my routines. I like my systems. With all the stuff I do, I like things orderly. However, when things do change, well, you just adapt and you get back in the flow and you develop new systems. Andrew, this report I saw said, yes, it will be transformational. It will be massively disruptive. However, the prediction is what you just basically said. It will actually create brand new and additional jobs into the future. Do you agree with that? Is that true? And have you been seeing similar studies and predictions?
Absolutely. No, we're seeing that all over the place. And it is disruptive, right? The internet was disruptive, right? The way that we buy things today is dramatically different than it was even 20 years ago. And the internet was this technology that brought a lot of good and a lot of bad with it, right? We see, there's all kinds of bad things on the internet. We all know that. If any of us have sons, we should be rightly concerned about the internet. But it did bring a lot of good, a lot of efficiency. And now you just see the ease of buying, the ease of shopping, the ease of commerce is way better than it was before the internet was adopted at scale. Well, AI is going to produce those kind of productivity gains, but it absolutely is going to cause, kind of the short-term disruption. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the businesses on Red Balloon are probably more skeptical than most businesses about AI because they like people who they can trust. And even those businesses that have adopted AI, they're using it carefully, but they are also finding that their employees are more productive and getting more done. And I actually talked to an employer yesterday who's a great Red Balloon customer. And he's like, I've actually been able to do 10% raises across the board because of our implementation of AI, because we basically have more productive employees, we're generating more revenue without having to hire tons more people. I'm able to pay people more, which is a great story coming out of the AI disruption.
Andrew, I read a interesting story this morning actually on AI. Most of us regular consumers, we'll have a ChatGPT account or something. We pay a small monthly fee for it. But when it comes to corporations, they have to buy quote unquote AI tokens. I had never heard of that until this. And one of these major employers were saying that these AI tokens are costing us a lot of money because people are doing a lot of research and uploading big documents to help them with their work. And a major corporate CEO says, look, this person has used so many AI tokens, it's more than what we're paying for his salary. And a lot of companies are thinking about cutting back on that.
Well, and again, I'm going to point back to the internet disruption. I remember when AWS first came out, Amazon Web Services, they're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. We're just going to implement it everywhere. And then they started to get those AWS bills, and they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger because they were just using it for everything, right? And that's where they're like, okay, we got to find the right place to use this technology and not just assume that it's the right fit for everything out there. So that's part of it. But if you look at the parent company for ChatGPT, they are losing, I think they spend like $2.30 for every dollar of revenue they generate. Well, at some point, that's not going to be sustainable either. So those tokens that everyone's all of a sudden realizing cost money are going to probably double in cost over the next couple of years because economic reality is going to come to the excitement of AI stock, and they're going to need to actually generate profits or at least pay their own bills. So again, people right now are playing with the new technology. They're overusing the technology. The tokens can get very, very expensive, but the market's going to adjust. People are going to figure out what is the right mix of tasks to throw at AI and what's the right mix of tasks to keep with people and use AI effectively.
We're speaking with Andrew Crapuchettes. He is the CEO of Red Balloon, the president of Military Hire. Andrew, I think I found is the website for Military Hire, militaryhire.com. Did I come across the right one?
That's it.
All right, very good.
That's the right one.
Yeah, great website, by the way. It looks really easy to navigate. Hey, Andrew, we have a ton of servicemen, servicewomen, and a lot of veterans that listen to our station because we do a lot of stuff in support of them and their families. Tell them a little bit more about military hire. So if there's a veteran listening right now, they're like, man, I'd like to start a new career. Is military hire the place they should head to right now?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, so the reason that I actually acquired military hire as part of the Red Balloon family, part of it is we just thought we would love to be a blessing to veterans. But I actually started to hear these stories of what was happening out in the market. And since we've been kind of on the topic of AI, it actually applies pretty directly to veterans. So right now, what's happening in the job market is job seekers are using AI Apply or Robo Apply to apply to upwards of 100 jobs a day using this technology, maybe while they're sitting on their couch watching Netflix, right? So they're applying to all these jobs. Well, that sounds great. It sounds grand. The problem is that also means that employers will post a job on an Indeed or a ZipRecruiter, and they will literally get thousands of applicants. Many of those people don't even know they're applying to these jobs. The problem with that is now these employers have so many applicants, they can't meaningfully go through all those resumes. So what do? Well, of course, you use AI tools to try and figure out which applicants you should be talking to. The problem is that people are a little bit more complicated than a piece of paper called a resume, and AI is not necessarily good at making decisions on people-based issues. And how does this tie into military hire? Well, I was talking to a veteran, and he said, I applied to a job for a big corporation at 6 o'clock at night, and I got my rejection letter at 2 a.m. Well, probably the HR department wasn't pulling an all-nighter rejecting people. It was he hit an electronic gatekeeper. He hit the ATS, the applicant tracking system, and the AI algorithm basically looked at his resume and said, look, you don't have enough of the keywords that we're looking for. Well, it turns out for veterans, many of the skills, knowledge, and abilities that they've achieved while protecting our freedom don't line up with the keywords that corporations are looking for. So it's not actually a skill gap, it's a translation gap. So they are using different words for their skills than the corporations are looking for. So we have been building some really cool technology that allows veterans, when they apply to a job, if they have a skill gap, our system will come back and say, hey, it looks like you applied for this job, but you're missing these 3 critical skills. Can you please explain why? And it turns out that most of the time, the applicant has those skills. They just weren't using the right words when they were applying, and it gives them an opportunity to pitch themselves. So we just think it's a more human experience for veterans to make that transition. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, because we think that hiring is a distinctly human activity, we have massive career fairs with great companies like Leidos and General Dynamics and DHL, and actually the Office of People Management from the U.S. government. These companies come, and veterans actually have an opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation, even if it's over Zoom, with these companies and actually pitch themselves like a human being rather than kind of get cut off by those electronic gatekeepers. So we're just trying to think differently about hiring because we know that people are more complicated than a resume, particularly veterans, yet they can be some of the best talent for a corporation.
Andrew, the economy has been very resilient. Some are calling the war and tariffs economic shocks to the economy, but it's been consistent. Where are you seeing the most growth in the labor market right now?
We are seeing, I was just talking to a construction services company, and man, they are up to their eyeballs in work. Because what's happening right now in the economy is there's a lot of reshoring, but there's a lot of direct foreign investment. And so these companies are building huge factories, huge infrastructure, and creating a lot of American jobs. And so I would say that the manufacturing and construction sectors, they are very hot right now. And you can make some really great money and really have a satisfying job. You know, there's something about when you work with your hands and you can actually see what you accomplished at the end of the day. It's very satisfying. Builds a lot of, worth for the person that's getting that job done. So those are two of the sectors right now that we have a lot of customers in, and they are booming because of all these activities that are happening.
That's Andrew Crapuchettes. He's with Red Balloon and Military Hire. You can find all of their resources online at redballoon.work. That's redballoon.work or militaryhire.com. We hope people take advantage of both of those sites. Andrew, great to catch up with you again today.
Great to talk to you guys. It's really, really good to talk.
Andrew, before we let you go, last time we talked to you, I think you were doing some sheep farming part-time. How's that going?
You know, I'm doing a housing development. I have decided that I cannot pull off all the farming and everything else. So I'm going to stick with real estate and technology. I feel like that's enough.
Yeah, agriculture is hard. It is. That is for sure. Andrew, keep up all the great work. We love the fact we were there with you from the very beginning. It's so great to see the growth in your companies, and most importantly, what you're doing for Americans, for center-right Americans who don't want to work in the woke, and especially for our military vets as well. Couldn't be more proud of everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, guys. Great to talk to you.
Have a great week.
Thank you as well. There we go. Wow. We have literally watched his whole entrepreneurial career. I'll tell you what, the guy makes me exhausted just talking to him.
You got to be doing pretty well when you acquire companies.
Yeah, he's doing great. And he started, Chris, with just a dream, a vision.
Yeah.
And he launched it by himself and was like, well, we'll see what happens with Red Balloon. And it has absolutely taken off. So.
Very entrepreneurial young man.
Indeed. All right. I am going to head down to the Lodge of Des Peres for the big town hall event. Seems like we have an event every single night at News Talk STL. Chris and I, by the way, will be on another live remote next week. We're going to be at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Yeah. We're going to be celebrating with the Jeffco Patriot Radio folks, Billy Crow and Dwayne Eoff. They're big supporters and sponsors of the show. Chris, we've got the 97, we've got the 1019 94.1 News Talk STL Lounge there as
our
well.
Pictures up there.
Our pictures, I haven't seen those in a while. And we're going to be broadcasting live next week from Sugar Creek. I believe that's on Wednesday. It's on Wednesday. And we'll be there with, I think, the Young Republicans, and it'll be another party on the road.
Are you going to go in early and get a round of golf in?
I just might. That's a great idea. I'm going to have to do that. So bring your putter. So tonight, heading down to the Lodge of Des Peres. We got the big event. You can come down after we're done with the show. Chris and Joey are going to wrap up the last segment. They're going to have Derek Good on. Derek Good with the Shootin'
Not a Hootenanny.
A Shootenanny and the Patriot Pig Roast. Well, I can't.
What's more American than that?
Or Jeffco. That is for sure. Seriously, I hear this is an awesome event.
I've been there.
Chris and Derek are going to tell you all about it next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy for our Friday, a low of 70, a high of 88 degrees. There's a slight chance for a spotty shower or thunder shower around midday in the afternoon, but then expect a dry evening. So looking good for the Cardinals game Friday evening, just warm and muggy. Saturday, hotter, high of 91. There's a chance for a shower or storm in the morning, and then a slight chance for one of those bubble-up storms in the heat of the afternoon Saturday. That's only a 20% chance. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, hot and humid. Sunday's the better chance for more widespread scattered storms and a high of 89. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey everyone, it's Todd Showalter with my buddy Joey V. Be sure to join me and Joey for the Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Saturdays at 5, right here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Since 1964, Royal Banks of Missouri has been proud to be your local community bank. They serve St. Louis, St. Charles, Southern Illinois. They're even up in Northeast Missouri. And what I love about Royal Banks is this: they've got that hometown feel, but they've also made banking incredibly convenient. Their local team is ready to partner with you at any stage of your financial journey, whether you're just getting started or you're planning your next big move. Royal Banks Missouri is there. And here's the game changer: their interactive teller machines, or their ITMs. No more rushing to beat bank hours. You can connect with a real Royal Banks employee, even in the evenings and on Saturdays. You know, whether it's a deposit, a payment, or just getting help, it's simple, secure, and you're still talking to a real person you can trust. That's the difference with a true community bank. Visit them today online at royalbanksofmo.com to find an ITM near you and learn more. Royal Banks Missouri, investing in our communities one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Staff's Pizza, you know the name. They're famous for their St. Louis-style pizza, but don't forget their party platters for any occasion. Staff sandwiches, pasta, and pizza are always a big hit at any get-together, and the party platters make it easy. 4 great locations: St. Peter's on Juggerman, in St. Charles on Zumbell, Pond Ford Trail in Lake St. Louis, and the original Stephanitas in O'Fallon. Check them out at steffspizza.com. And remember, tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday right here on News Talk STL for the Serenity Wealth Now show. This week, we are celebrating our 100th episode of our show, and joining me in the studio, we've got Vic Porcelli of News Talk STL. In the house, we're going to have fun, talk a little about transitioning from music to talk radio, and at the same point in time, have a little fun with finance along the way. So tune in right here, News Talk STL, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., or check us out on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets. We'll see you then.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Hunters, now is the time to get ready. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors. Listen, don't wait until the season opener to dial that bow in. Whistle Pig offers paper tuning, bow adjustments, string replacement, and custom arrows. Plus, Hoyt and Bear archery bows, crossbows from 10 Point and Raven, and accessories from all of the top brands. Archery season opens in September, but now is the time to practice and get ready. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, Missouri. Visit whistlepigoutdoors.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
5:48 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and I'm honored to have on my good friend Derek Good. He is a Jefferson County attorney, and he's also secretary of the Missouri GOP. He's here to talk to us about a big event coming up next week. Derek, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Chris. How you doing this evening?
Good, man. It was great seeing you yesterday at the GOP headquarters, my friend. I'm glad you crossed the river and celebrated with us.
It's always my pleasure, man.
All right, next Saturday is the third annual Shoot Nanny, not Hoot Nanny, a Shoot Nanny. It's a full auto jamboree and pig roast. I was honored to attend the first Shoot Nanny 3 years ago. Tell us what this is all about.
Well, Chris, you know us down here in Jefferson County. We really believe in our Second Amendment.
Yes, sir.
And we've got some great straight reps down here, and one of them we kindly call Wild Bill, and Bill Lucas. And so we started a couple years ago, had this at his place. And what we did is set up a thing where several of the reps could come, and if they have people that want to come participate, they can raise money for their committees for folks that want to sponsor and shoot. Other people can just kind of come and hang out, and then for $50 we can have some good pig roast and some drinks afterwards for a couple hours. We got a dozen plus state reps coming in for it, so it should be a lot of fun.
And you can shoot everything from a BB gun to a M4 carbine, full auto suppressed at Shoot Nanny, correct? What else can you shoot?
We're going to have all kinds of stuff there. We'll have a 50 caliber rifle. Like you said, we're going to have some fully suppressed full auto stuff, and I'm gonna bring a couple things. We can take some pictures for some of the reps if they want to have some pretty good pictures taken for whatever they need. So all you got to do is donate $100 to one of those campaigns. You can do it there that day, and then with some of the ammo will be available for sale at cost, and it'll just be a good time.
And where will the third annual Shoot Nanny be at this year? Not going to be. Last year was at Wild Bill's place, but it's not going to be there this year.
It was. No, we didn't. We moved it to the Windsor Lake Rod and Gun Club out on Highway Z, and we're going to do it out there to give us a little more organization to where things take place. And I'm kind of excited to do it there. It's a club that I'm a member of, so looking forward to that.
And what are the times for the Shoot Nanny, Derek?
So we're gonna get together at 9 a.m. and shoot till about noon. Then we'll grab lunch and be out of there by 2.
Excellent, excellent. That is the third annual Shoot Nanny. It's a full auto jamboree and pig roast that is going to be at the Windsor Lake Road and Gun Club. That's at 2612 Highway Z in Peebly, Missouri, 63070. Derek, who's going to be supplying the pig for the pig roast? Is that you?
No, it's not me, but again, to stay in that great name circle, Steve Wyatt Earp has helped to arrange for some of that. He and Bill were some of the original guys, and I know that David Castillo and many of our other reps down here, Cecily Williams and some others from around the state have kind of helped us set that up.
Who came up with the name Shoot Nanny? I think that was brilliant when I first heard it a few years ago. Not a hoot nanny, but a shoot nanny. Who's a genius that thought of that?
And genius might be a little rough. I think it was Steve Wyatt Earp that came up with that. So I don't know that I quite go genius.
All right. So since we have you on the line and you are there in Jefferson County, what's going on with the politics down there? Something you want to talk about?
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's obviously primary season, right? So the court may decide on Friday who our final set of candidates are for our county clerk race. So there's been a challenge in one of those races on residency, and I think the court will kind of dispose of that so that we'll finally have our field set. On the county executive side, Chris Graham Howard has decided time's not right, and so he's put his support behind Tim Whitney. So there's been a little bit of some shifting sands, but we're just about to hit that final stretch.
A lot of people think, Jefferson County is kind of a sleepy county. Everybody kind of gets along. Everything is, smelling like roses and everything. But there is not controversy, but some personality clashes and things happening. I've been following it on Facebook, and politics is getting a little raucous there in Jefferson County, isn't it?
Well, Chris, I tell people all the time, we go through these cycles, right? You and I have been at this for a very, very long time.
Don't mention any years.
Well, I did see the other day there was a claim that you turned 70.
Yeah. No, you're about 10 years too much on that. Deduct 10 years.
That's not true. But you get people that get real excited about an issue or something, and they rise up and they come in and just want to throw everybody out, right?
Yeah.
But then things tend to calm down, and some of those people stick around. And I tell these folks all the time, keep that fire. And when you're ready to work with everybody, stay around so that we can get some things done. And I think that'll happen.
One of the big issues, of course, around the county, around the metro area, even around the country, is data centers. I read a story in the Post-Dispatch about what's been happening in Festus. I know that there have been 3 council members, I think, in Festus that have been recalled. Chuck Hatfield, the noted election attorney, is representing them, and he has made a case that this recall order is not correct. You're a fellow attorney. Can you dive into that a little bit?
I can a little bit. Yeah. They turned in signatures for a recall petition, and to recall the remaining members that weren't just elected along with the mayor and recall law. I've handled a few of those cases, and there's some little nuances between the different size city and so on. And here, I think Chuck's probably right. I think the petitions are deficient both in their reasoning and potentially even in the number of signatures. So, we'll see next Monday what the Festus City Council decides to do with that, and then, it may take a court to decide beyond that. So.
Derek, why do you think the folks down there in Festus are against these data centers? Is it because of revelations of kind of back room deals and the public didn't have full disclosure? Or are people genuinely afraid of these data centers, that they're going to pollute the atmosphere and make life not pleasant for the residents of Festus? What is the real issue of the rancor?
I think some of it's perception. I think some of it's perception that there were backroom deals, and I really don't think there were. There were folks on the council that tried to educate themselves about data centers in general ahead of time, and when Sunshine Act requests started getting issued, there was this perception that that there were actually deals going on there, and it wasn't just educational. And then, what we're seeing across the country is a lot of foreign and far left money that is being funneled into these anti-data center arguments, and I think that message that money is pushing has kind of trickled down, and there's a lot of fears of things that I think as time progresses will prove that just really aren't an issue.
And for my information, so has the data center in Festus, has that been approved? Is it going forward?
So, where we're at right now is as I understand it, is the property has been rezoned, and the developer is in their, due diligence process, trying to decide what their next step is.
All right, Derek, we got about 45 seconds. Give us the final sale job for the Shoot Nanny, full auto jamboree, and pig roast.
Well, I just, again, come out, support some of the reps that you like, and that you'd like to support, and come visit and have a good time.
And that's going to be at the Windsor Lake Road and Gun Club in Peebly, June 13th from 9 to 12 a.m. Derek, thank you so much for your time, my friend, and I'll see you at the Shoot Nanny next week.
Thanks, Chris. We'll see you, man.
All right. 5:57. Up next is Larry Connors USA. The story behind the story, Larry's flight with the Blue Angels. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Let's get real. Here's the truth about eliminating Missouri's income tax.
I'm here with State Representative Bishop Davidson. And Bishop, you've heard the complaints about the proposal. Here's your colleague, Representative Ashley Awney.
Frankly, the only thing that this resolution does is increase sales taxes.
So what does this do and what does it not do if we say yes?
The first part of this constitutional amendment is a constitutional shall. It's a guarantee to the people in Missouri that if they vote for this, that their legislature will enact and shall enact legislation